What's up, y'all? Happy Saturday. As you can see, I'm playing with some of the filters here on Facebook, but today we are going to be talking about estate planning and why it's important that you get started taking a look at your estate now. Hey, everybody. Hey. I'm going to be going over 7 steps to get started. And I really want us to pay attention to this. There are actually some things in here that I'm going to go back and revisit with my own estate plan, because I think that so many of us, we assume like, okay, this is something that needs to be done, when I have already amassed a certain level of wealth. And I don't want us to think like that. I really want us to start thinking about our estate in whatever situation we're in right now, and not wait until we hit a certain milestone to figure out, okay, how can I start thinking about how to pass on this legacy? How do I get rid of this mask? Because I can't even take myself serious. Okay, there we go. All right, so the first part of estate planning is to take an inventory of all of your things, right? And so you want to pay attention to don't laugh at me, Jazz, I was trying to have some fun. You want to pay attention to all of your stuff, so everything. This is homes, real estate that you might have, all of your vehicles, any collectibles, art, coins you might have. I like collecting money from different places, so any other personal possessions that you have, and then also take into consideration like your actual money, things that is in checking, savings accounts, savings bonds, life insurance policies, retirement plans, your HSA accounts. If you have a business, all of these things are things you want to take inventory of when you are assessing, what type of wealth do you have. So things that you also might need to take the assessment is to get appraisals on different things. So especially if you have, a home or collectibles, things like that, getting the actual value of those things will help you when you are trying to figure out, okay, how much stuff do I have? What is all of this worth? So appraisals are important. Now, after you've taken the inventory of everything that you have, the next thing to do is, okay, is my family taken care of if something happens to me, right? Figure out, do you have enough life insurance? So yesterday we did a session on life insurance, the different types, different reasons why you want coverage. And so when you are doing your estate plan, think, okay, do I have enough life insurance where my family can maintain, their standard of living, if kids need college paid for, things like that. If you have children, well, what happens if something happens to you? Is there a guardian that will be named if you don't have a spouse? Is there anything particular you want to happen for your kids? So do you not want them to go to public school? Do you want them to end up in private school? Do you want them to go to Montessori school? Are there specific things that you want to happen for your children in the event of your absence? So things like this need to be taken into consideration, right? So a lot of times we might not be thinking about what happens when I'm gone, but if there are dependents in the picture, people that are relying on you, this is something, and now is the time to figure out, okay, what's going to happen if and when something happens to me. The next part of your estate planning is establishing your directive. So when certain legal things come into or possibly happen, what happens in these situations? So thinking about a medical care directive. This is more commonly referred to as a living will. And so if there are, things that you would like to happen when you are not able to make decisions for yourself medically, think of it as like a medical power of attorney. who is going to be that person that's responsible for your well-being when you can't make the decision for yourself? Do you have a financial power of attorney? So who is going to make the financial decisions, pay the bills, take care of taxes, things like that, if you are unable to do that for yourself? Do you have a trust for your assets? So sometimes you can put assets away into a special account where certain things happen at different milestones. So maybe you want to put some money away for your children, and when they turn 18 or 21 or 25, they get access to these funds to do what they will with them. And so being able to pass on assets through a trust and having directives for the money can help in the estate planning process. Next, we want to review our beneficiaries. So for all of the assets that you have, if and when something happens to you, who does it get passed to, right? Is there a beneficiary on all of your accounts at the bank? Does your retirement accounts, do they have a beneficiary? Does all of your life insurance policies, is everything updated, right? Things might have changed. When you pass, it's important to know, okay, what happens to these funds now? What happens to these accounts now? And that information should be checked regularly. You want to pay attention to your state's estate tax laws. So if you've moved to a different state since you've set up an estate plan, how does where you're living now impact what's going on in that plan? And paying attention to the taxes, right? Have the taxes increased? Have they decreased? Do you need to do something different with your plan to make sure that assets are passed as efficiently as possible, right? We don't want to build up all this wealth and then lose it to taxes because we didn't properly place it where it needed to be so that we weren't eaten up by those taxes. And then also too, some states have inheritance tax. And so what that means, if I'm passing an asset down to heir, they might have to pay a tax on it just because I'm passing it on and the way that I'm doing it. So pay attention to how money is passed, and if who gets it makes a difference, right? Because I might be able to pass money through a trust and not pass it directly to a child in a certain state and avoid the inheritance tax altogether. So learning what these things are can really help you save in a major way. And so lastly, I always like to mention that if there are intricacies, special details that you don't know the ins and out of, hire an estate attorney. Somebody that's going to really help you draw up a plan that is in accordance with where you live, right? We might be able to go online and find like a big box plug and play, like I punch the stuff in, but it might not work for my state. And so I want to make sure that whatever I'm using is state specific and that it will uphold when the time comes. And then, of course, we already mentioned this too, make sure that we are constantly reassessing and staying abreast of whatever plans we have put in place. So things change, life happens, and making sure that you have the updates in place is important, right? Because we don't want to have, somebody that's not beneficiary still listed on a account and we didn't actually want the funds to go to them. So of course there are some instances where cancellations automatically happen based on relationships, but you always want to make sure you double check and get things updated. Okay, so we got a comment that might be what I need because all of this is so foreign to me. Yeah, and that's okay, right? Because there were definitely some of these pieces that were foreign to me, even though I move in this space, until I went to a seminar about estate planning. And so the more we know, the more we seek the information, learn and grow, we become exposed, and then we can add it into our arsenal. So totally cool if you don't know what some of these things are now, but now you know that you can reach out and contact a professional to see, okay, how can I get some of these things in place for myself, just to make sure that everything's taken care of. So for me, I don't have any children right now that some of these things might apply to. But I do have a young niece. I do have, you know, life insurance policies and things like that where, okay, let me make sure all of these assets are getting passed to who I want these things to go to so that they don't miss out on money. Yes, okay, so Kevin's here. We do have an event coming up, and I'm so happy you mentioned that, Kevin. We'll be talking about how to pass money to the next generation without losing a lot of it, right? So if this is something that concerns you, you know, you've been working really, really hard to build up your wealth and you don't want to pay the man, right? We don't want to give Uncle Sam none of our coins. You'll definitely want to tune in to our session as Kevin talks about some of these things. Yes, legacy, legacy, legacy. So I am not an estate tax attorney. I am not, you know, that's not my lane. I do know some of the minimal things when we're putting together a financial plan. But if you are looking for some, you know, very specific details, maybe you have a intricate situation, definitely check out the My Last Dime app. We have an estate planner inside the app where you can reach out and get some more information, just to make sure all of your ducks are in a row. So I hope that this session was helpful. Be on the lookout. I'll be posting more information about some ways that you can protect your legacy and really ensure that you are setting your children up and those coming behind your kids, right? Because we're trying to make enough money that our kids are well off and don't have to work as hard as we did. But stay tuned. We'll be back soon with more information. So have a wonderful Saturday, guys. I will see you tomorrow. We'll be talking about health and wealth.